Thatcher is renowned for being a warmonger and for destroying the health service, for placing people on the dole, whereas Bobby Sands and the other hunger strikers in their local communities, their image is one of inspiration to young people. Thatcher is no role model for anyone, whereas the hunger strikers are, because they died with nothing, no wealth, and they give it for their people. What they were stating to Thatcher was, you're wrong to be in our country. You don't have a right to be in our country. You're killing our people, and we are going to stand here and hunger strike to death to prove that we are political, that Ireland has a right to freedom and independence, and that you're an occupying power. I mean, and quite simply, that's how it broke down. They were showing that how far they were prepared to go to demonstrate the correctness of their principles and their cause. And then you had the irony, 2 or 3 years after the hunger strike, when Mrs. Thatcher appeared on television, distraught, because her son, who was in a rallying across the Sahara Desert, got lost. I said to myself, does she know something about how her mother felt? And she had the power to save a life. And there she was on TV begging God and begging this one, that one, to save her son. I know, but it probably never crossed that vicious woman's mind that others had suffered the same way, but at her hands.
And when someone mentions 1981 hunger strike to you, what's the first image, memory or line that pops into your head from that period?
Well, probably the first thing is that I break out in a cold sweat when I think about it. You know, it was a nightmare, and people who weren't there, they just don't get how much of a nightmare it was for us. But what I think about, I don't have any single sort of image or thought about the whole thing, but I remember probably my most vivid memory of the hunger strike was when, and I had been in H3 with Bobby when he started his hunger strike, so I had seen him right for the first few weeks. But we had a meeting in the prison hospital. I had only been on the hunger strike for probably 10 or 12 days at the time. And we had a meeting in the prison hospital. And when I walked in to the canteen where the meeting was being held, I saw Lorne McKeown. And Lorne had always been quite thin and gaunt, but his appearance knocked me back on my heels. I couldn't believe how thin he was, how gaunt he was. You know, almost like a skeleton with skin stretched over the bones. And I mean, the sight of him actually terrified me. And you know, we had all these different stages during the hunger strike, you know, where you commit yourself to go on hunger strike to the death. But still in all, these images have a massive impact on you. And it's a matter again of having to, you know, take your time just for a second to think about what's ahead of you, to rededicate yourself and to face up to what's in front of you, to overcome whatever fear was there and say, right, we're pushing on with this, nothing's going to deflect us. We're determined to follow this through to whatever end may be there.
The abiding memory, I suppose, of 1981, that for me, I tell people that it was the worst year of my life. And people have said to me, you know, it must have been very, very rough. It must have been hard. You know, you were in a position of DOC, watching your comrades and friends die. And I say, yes, that's true. But one of the clear things that comes through to me is that at any period when you felt under pressure, or you felt down, or you felt sort of depressed, that all you had to do was take one step back and look at what was happening with our lads in the hospital, and then again look at what the families were going through. And the families, and Pat Sheehan has actually mentioned it, that the families went through infinitely more heartache than the hunger strikers. And they're prepared, you know, Pat Sheehan and people like that are prepared to say that. And certainly when we look at that, from that point in time in 1981 from my prison cell when I looked at the heroic deeds that the hunger strikers were performing in that hospital. The absolute dignity and determination in that struggle, and the suffering and heartache and commitment and dedication of those families. To me, that's what pulled me through. There's no question about it.
Bobby getting elected, powerful memory of overwhelming emotion, and again the hope. But then, besides that, there's the image of Joe McDonald, you know, with about 48 hours to live, slurring in speech, blind, and asking me had I any cigarettes, sipping a plastic mug or a plastic cup of salted water, and saying, we're not giving in, we're not giving in. Let them come in here and show us what's on offer. You know, and then a funny incident, whenever a former women prisoner from Armagh who was out canvassing in Fermanagh and South Tyrone came into the election offices in Dungannon and said, I don't think Bobby's going to win. I says, why? He says, we were giving out leaflets, people wouldn't accept them, and people were turning their nose up. So Francie Malloy asked them where exactly were the canvassing, and turned out that they were outside the Church of Ireland in Ballygawley, handing out leaflets, and that's why they got this response. You know, there's incidents like that, but it's the awesomeness, the sacrifice, the love of those comrades had for each other, their courage, the bravery of their families. Astonishing. Families, what the families went through is unbelievable, and yet they came through it with dignity. So, I mean, it's just, I think you could write about it. There's much more to be written about it. And we'll probably continue to explore that period.
Doesn't seem quite so long ago, the last time that I saw you. And ain't it funny how the memories grow? Seems they always fold around you. Tried to break you in a living hell, but they couldn't find a way. So they killed you in an H-block cell and hoped that all would turn away. Thought your spirit wouldn't rise again, but you dared to prove them wrong. And in death you tore away the chains to let the world hear freedom's song. Yet the heartache and pain linger on. They're still here, though it's so long since you've gone. But we're stronger now. You showed us how freedom's fight can be won. Wish there was an easy road to choose to bring the heartache to an end. But easy roads are always sure to lose. I've seen it time and time again. If you could